Welcome to the Tea of Life podcast, where our mission is to transform every area of life by encouraging and equipping you to live the life you love and love the life you live. I am your host, Tiffany Thompson. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tea of Life podcast. Today is episode number 75. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about defining financial success. And you guys remember Rayson Chu from Singapore. He's the host of The Regacy Show, and I interviewed him last fall in an episode titled Executing Your Goals and Dreams. Well, we continue to stay in touch and chat on a regular basis, and he recently posted that someone had just messaged him and said that he, Rayson, should be financially successful before interviewing people like Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, both of which have already been on Rayson's show and have encouraged him in many, many ways. And they both have also agreed that what Rayson is doing is absolutely fantastic and he should keep on keeping on. So I wanted to talk about this today because I feel that there is a huge misconception here, okay? According to Rayson's listeners' logic, Rayson, needs to be just like the people that he interviews before he actually interviews them, which I think is absolutely insane. At the end of Rayson's post, he asked, what's your take on this? So a lot of his listeners had some really great things to say in support of Rayson. And of course, I could not help but put in my 2 cents as well. So I immediately responded by saying that was absolutely stupid. And if that were the case, you should be skinny before you ever go on a diet. You should be full before you ever eat, tan before you ever lay in the sun, and so on. And also, if this were the case, we should just go ahead and cancel every late night host on television, cancel all the interview segments on Good Morning America and Nightline, and cancel pretty much every podcast known to man. And I'm sure you're kind of getting the message here. So I think that this guy who commented meant that Rayson needed to be just as popular and just as financially successful as Gary and Grant. But I think that that's insane if I have not already made that clear. What we need to all understand is that success looks different for everyone, and financial success is surely relative to each person. No one person can define financial success or even success at all for anyone or everyone. Success looks different for each and every person. We all have different lives, different goals. We all have different dreams and beliefs. And one person may define success by being able to buy an island. Wouldn't that be really cool? Or another person may define it as being able to pay cash for a luxury sports car. And someone else may define it as just being able to actually pull themselves together enough to go out with friends because the pain is just too much. So we consider ourselves financially secure, and I guess some would call that financial success, but we are nowhere near being millionaires. And honestly, that is really not our goal at all. And so in Rayson's post, I continued with that the less you owe, the less you have to make, which allows you to make your own way and not be dependent on others, which I would personally define as financial success. Some people are considered to be financially secure because they have a lot of assets. However, they also have a lot of debt that go along with those assets, which in turn makes them financially poor. I know people like this, and I'm pretty sure that you do too. So these are the people who, if they lost their job, would be in a mell of a hess. Okay, so those are phrases that allow Christians to actually cuss, okay, if you've never heard that before. But they would be scrambling, trying to figure out how they are going to find another job that pays enough money in order for them to keep up with their financial dependence. So in line with this, just this past week, Jon Acuff posted these words on his Twitter feed. And he says, quote, "It's true. I make less because of the time I invest in family. That's just math. But in 6 years, my youngest daughter graduates high school. I can go full throttle on work if I want to then. And I love the fact that he says, if I want to. So he said, I only get one shot at her childhood. When those years are gone, they're gone forever. So now that I just read John's tweet, I'm going to go ahead and now read John's bio taken straight from the homepage of his website. And it says, Jon Acuff is the New York Times best-selling author of 6 books, including his most recent Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller, Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done, which you can purchase on Kindle right now for $4.99 by following the link on my website. For over 20 years, he's helped some of the biggest brands in the world tell their story, including the Home Depot, Bose, Staples, and the Dave Ramsey team, all of which, by the way, probably have a bigger net worth than John. Sorry, John, if you're listening, but okay, we all know that's true, probably, right? So anyway, it says, most recently, he's spoken to hundreds of thousands of people at conferences, colleges, companies, and churches. Featured regularly on national media, John has been seen on CNN, Fox News, Good Day LA, and several other key outlets. In addition, John is also a big proponent of social media with blogs that have been read by 4 million people and almost 300,000 Twitter followers. In 2010, he used his influence with his tribe to build 2 kindergartens in Vietnam. Man, that is absolutely incredible. You go, John. So now I want to say that I have actually met John. And when I met him, I had absolutely no idea who he was. I actually have a few funny stories about a few people that I've met this way, but even though John has accomplished all these things, he was the nicest, most down-to-earth person who engaged in conversation with me as if I was the only person in the room. So we attended the same conference last year in Nashville, and when I got home and started following some of the people that I had met there, that was when I realized who he was. And I love it when I meet people this way because it allows me to get to know the real person, and I'm more relaxed to ask questions, and I probably wouldn't ask those same questions otherwise. So anyway, I wonder if Rayson's commenter would actually tell me that I should not have talked to John after all because I have not achieved the same social status or the same things that he has achieved. So John is someone who is considered by many to be successful in very many ways in areas of his life, and maybe even financially successful compared to a lot of people. However, in his tweet, if you remember, he admits that he chooses to make less money because he chooses to invest in his family instead. So according to Rayson's listeners' logic, John should not have the ability to have achieved all that he has achieved simply because he does not make the amount of money that the others make. And if Rayson's listener is correct in this way, then John should not have ever had the opportunity to influence brands like the Home Depot, the Dave Ramsey team, and many of the other people that he's influenced because of the vast difference of financial and achievement status that they both have from each other. So while getting ready for this podcast, I came across a website called budgetsaresexy.com, and can I just say that I absolutely love the name of that website because personally I think that it's true. Budgets kind of are sexy and attractive. So anyway, the author of this website says this about defining financial success. He says, there are a lot of ways people define success and what it means to their personal lives. For some, financial success is as simple as owning that beautiful mansion on the hillside or that island, or that lovely Ferrari in the dealership. Maybe buying that winning lottery ticket is what you set as the ultimate dream, which I'm kind of wondering myself if that's really financial success. I don't know, you decide. Others claim that success is the freedom that you achieve with realizing your financial goals. And the answer varies from person to person, just like every person is different, just like I said before. I love the last 2 sentences. Others claim that success is the freedom that you achieve with realizing your financial goals. The answer varies from person to person. So something that we need to remember is that in order to get to where we want to be, we need to surround ourselves with people who are already there. We need to seek out and ask questions to those who have already achieved our desired status or who have achieved our desired position in society. According to Forbes.com, surrounding yourselves with the right people changes everything. They go on to say that it's widely known that one of the best ways to improve on a skill is to practice it with someone who is better than you. And they said to think tennis, skiing, poker, yoga. This idea of playing with someone better than you translates nicely to your personal and career successes as well. And that's why it's important to surround yourselves with people who are winners. So I will put a link to the Forbes article in my show notes on the website. But a few more things that the author of this particular article says, her name is Jennifer Cohen, by the way, is that we should find people who are smarter than us. She quotes a famous quote by author and motivational speaker Jim Rohn. And if you've been around the motivational world long enough, you've probably heard this quote a time or two, but maybe didn't know who actually said it. Your pastor may have even quoted it a few times. I know that ours has, but the quote actually goes like this. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. Then she goes on to say that when we surround ourselves with positive, successful people, they consciously and subconsciously challenge us to be our best selves. This is so incredibly true. We tend to become like the people that we surround ourselves with. This is why we want our kids to find good friends. This is why we are naturally drawn toward those who we want to be more like. If we surround ourselves with successful people, we naturally become successful. The opposite is also true, though. If we surround ourselves with unproductive or unsuccessful people, we also become unproductive and unsuccessful. So if we surround ourselves with rich people, we become rich. If we surround ourselves with poor people, we become poor. This is because we tend to make decisions that are in line with the people who are most around us. They are the ones who most influence us. If we surround ourselves with rich people, we make rich people decisions. Therefore, we become rich. If we surround ourselves with poor people, we make poor people decisions. Therefore, we become poor. You could replace those words with almost anything. If you surround yourselves with blank, you become blank. The last 2 pieces of advice that Jennifer gives us is cultivate real life relationships with people who have already accomplished your goals. And one of my favorites that she says, one that I have actually put into practice myself, is say goodbye to the negative Nellies. Yes, like I just said, if you surround yourself with complainers, you will become a complainer yourself. If the guy who wrote into Racine is correct, then we would never be able to surround ourselves with anyone better than us. We would never be able to engage into a conversation with anyone who has more knowledge than us in any area of our lives. This means that children should not ask their parents questions until they achieve the same level of intelligence as their parents. And by the way, you're on your own doing your taxes, because this means that you should not ask your tax guy about taxes until you've reached the same level of knowledge as him. So if you have a boss who makes more than you, which if you have a boss, he more than likely makes more than you do, then you should never ask him how to achieve management or boss status until you have actually already achieved that same level in the company. And I'm thinking that these things sound kind of silly, right? So when you go to a restaurant and ask the server about the food, wouldn't you think that that makes the server more knowledgeable than you in that area? I would consider this an interview with the server who has already achieved the status of knowing the menu. So needless to go on to say, I feel like this guy's comment was clearly out of line and simply ridiculous. So the bottom line of this today is no one person can define a financial success or just success in general for anyone else. Financial success does not come from owning a lot of stuff or by owning an expensive house or a lot of expensive cars. It comes from just being financially secure where you currently are. You should surround yourselves with the right people. You need to remember that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. And you need to cultivate real life relationships with those who have already accomplished your goals. And lastly, say goodbye to the negative Nellies. Okay, listeners, let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with the commenter on Racen's page? Do you agree or disagree with my take on the situation? What is your definition of financial success? And do you consider yourself to be financially successful according to your definition, or is this something that you're currently working toward? If so, how can I help you get there? If you'd like to read any of the articles I've mentioned, I've put a link to all of them in the show notes on my website. If you're interested in help with budgeting or just have some budgeting questions, please email me at tiffany@toflifepodcast.com or leave me a comment on my website under this episode. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can in order to help you get on a path to your definition of financial success. So as always, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. If you like Tea of Life podcast and you've got 2 friends who want to create the life that they love to live, tell them about us. Find us on your favorite social media platform like Facebook or Instagram. Also, right now before you forget, go to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts and search for Tea of Life podcast. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Tea of Life podcast. We will see you next Thursday.